The first thing you should do whenever you start an SSO dressage practice is turn on the bright sand dots. So the way to do that is by coming to the entrance of the arena and clicking on this rake that is right here. You'll see a little star icon pop up, and now you'll see the bright sand dots show up in the arena. The bright sand dots are very important in the SSO dressage community for a few reasons. The first reason is that if we were riding all the way up against this wall like this, and then we do a canter curl, let's take a look and see what happens. So you notice I crashed into the wall and then my horse kind of pivoted this way. So crashing into the wall is definitely not a very clean maneuver, so we want to always avoid that by using this first bright dotted line away from the wall right here. So if I were to do a canter curl again, you're going to notice that I will not crash into the wall because I have plenty of space away from it. The next reason why we have these bright sand dots is because we can use them for our straightness. So for example, if I were about to turn onto this wall right here, boom, I have this bright dotted line right here to guide me and make sure I am riding completely straight and not wiggling or veering away from my line like this. Because again, the idea with SSO dressage is that we are very straight and proper. Another example of using sand dots for our straightness is a move like Fate. So a Fate is a curl in one direction, and then once you're straight on your original sand line, you're going to curl in the opposite direction. So again, using our lines for straightness can help make sure that all of our curls and moves are performed equally. One final reason for using our arena dots is for arena symmetry. So for example, right here, I'm in the very middle line of the arena, but if I go over to this line right here, we have one line away from center line. Now we have 2 lines away from center line. We have 3 lines away from center line, and finally 4 lines away from center line. If we do that again over here on this side, so we have 1 line away from center line, 2 lines away from center line, 3 lines away, and finally 4 lines away from center line, you can tell that the arena is divided equally with all of these lines across the arena. So in a future video, we will talk about what all of these different lines are called, but again, all of these dots are spaced the exact same distance away from each other, and therefore it's completely even across the arena. There are certain moves that require us to use different lines in the arena, or they allow us to map out exactly where the riders should go. Therefore, arena symmetry is very important in the arena. As you can see, there are an equal amount of sand lines across the length of the arena here, and there's also an equal amount of sand dots across the short sides of the arena as well. So again, arena symmetry is really important for commanders and instructors to ensure that when they're creating routines, all of our riders can have very precise locations and sand dots and points to figure out where they're supposed to end up. Finally, another reason why we have sand dots is to give us very exact points for creating circles. So whenever we're doing circles in dressage, we can use our points that move away from the midline or from X to create a circle that is completely even. So for right now, I'm going to use my very first dot away from X. So X is this sand dot right here, right in the middle. And we're going to use the first dot here, the first dot here, the first dot here, and the first dot here away from X to create a very nicely evenly curved circle. And you can do that for all of these sand dots across the arena, and the farthest you can go is 4 dots away from X. So again, this is what is going to be called a 5-meter circle. If I did not have these sand lines turned on, I might be guessing and making my circle too small at some points like this, or I might be making it too big or too wide, or kind of square looking with straight lines. So again, having these sand dots here can also help form a perfect circle. So in addition to the rake as a useful tool, we also have the overhead camera. So you're going to come right here into the middle of the arena, press on this laptop right here, and then you're going to see all of these different camera angles. The camera angle that is most used in SSO Dressage is camera number 4 right here. So if you click on that, you'll notice a big overhead view of the entire arena. So you can see everybody in the center of the arena, the corners, the outer edges, and it's very helpful to use this camera angle when creating routines and allowing riders and commanders to see themselves from above. The next thing we're going to talk about is the names of the basic arena lines. On the screen right now, the arrows in the animation are guiding along the outer lines. The outer lines are the lines that are closest to the walls and furthest away from the center of the arena. The next important sand line in the arena is called the center line. The center line is the dotted line that runs from A to C, and it is the line that is the direct center of the arena, running lengthwise. Our next arena line is called the midline. The midline runs from arena letters E to B and is also at the center of the arena, this time running vertically. Slant lines can run in any direction, and they are created by using the sand dots diagonally 45 degrees rather than straight across. Now on the screen, there is a diagram of all of the arena letters, and there are 12 letters along the walls of the arena. These letters are used in realistic dressage, and they can also be useful for asking riders to do something at that specific marker. If you want to try to memorize these arena letters, you can try memorizing the mnemonic I made up. If you start at C and go clockwise, you can memorize carrots make really bad pie filling, and kale vegetables exist so heavenly. We're now moving on to talk about gaits in dressage. There are 4 main gaits in dressage, and we are starting off with the walk. The walk is the slowest gait, and it is 1 click up from the halt. We recommend using your WASD keys on a computer device for the best control of your gaits. And on the screen, you'll see both the commander perspective and what you should see as the rider on your screen for each gait. Screen delay is a phenomenon that affects everybody in Star Stable. Screen delay is the delay of information being sent from your computer to Star Stable's headquarters, and then Star Stable's headquarters sending that out to other players' screens. There's a lot more to it, but that's the basic definition. When other players look at you, they see you slightly behind of where you see yourself on your computer screen. Screen delay increases the faster you move. So for example, at the walk, there's less screen delay, and at the gallop, there's a lot of screen delay. In SSO Dressage, screen delay impacts our timing, alignment, and gaps. For now, we'll focus on making proper gaps. Gaps are important for cleanliness and can also help perform certain moves. It allows all of the riders in a line to have equal spacing from each other and look very nice on the commander's screen. It's very important to remember that what you see on your screen looks very different from what your commander sees, so you should always be listening carefully to the commander to help you adjust your gaps. On the screen now, you'll actually be seeing repeated footage from the previous chapter. We're going to start with NTT, nose to tail gaps. I like to think of it as nose touching tail bow so that you can have a very clear reference point of where to line up your horse. NTT is typically used at the walk and the halt. Next up is OT, which stands for overlap tail. We typically use this at the trot, and in Emerald Hunters, we ask the riders to put their horse's nose inside of the saddle of the horse in front of them. Finally, we have HI, halfway inside. We typically use this at the canter, so the front of your saddle should touch the back of the saddle of the horse in front of you. As you can see, your horse should move further and further inside of the person in front of you as you start to move at faster gaits. Depending on the gait and your instructor, make sure you're staying in these positions, in these gap sizes at all times. If you fall behind, your gap will increase and that won't look very clean on the commander's screen. Performing a pickup trot is the cleanest way to make your rider line move forward. On go, the line leader will begin to trot forward, and all the other riders behind them will start to trot when they see the person in front of them start to trot. This allows riders to not crash into each other and prevents clumping as they begin to start the practice, and allow them to move into their gaps quickly without having to canter forward or walk or wiggle too much to adjust their gaps. In the next two clips, you will actually see examples of what not to do when picking up the trot. In the first clip, you'll see the riders moving at different times, thus leading them to clumping and taking a long time to fix their gaps afterwards. In the last clip, all of the riders move exactly on go, which means that their gaps will be too close to other riders, and again, they will have to adjust their gaps quite a bit anyways before performing moves. For go on go, this means that you press your turning or your gate keys exactly when you hear go in the voice call or when you see the word go in the chat. On your screen, this should make you look like you are moving earlier than everyone else, and that is actually correct. You should look like the first person moving on your screen, because on the commander's screen, you will actually look like you're moving at the same time as others. If you move at the same time as the person in front of you starts moving, you will actually look like you're moving late on the commander's screen due to screen delay. In the next few clips, you will see the hunters moving at different times, or they will be moving when they see the person in front of them start to move. Again, when you go on go, you will be in time on the commander's screen. When you hear the terms in or out, this means that you either move in towards a certain thing, such as the wall, the other riders, or a marker, or you move out, away from that thing. In these clips, you'll see both the commander and the rider point of view of the group of riders moving in towards the other rider line, and out and away from the other rider line as well. Primary and secondary numbers tell you which direction to move for certain types of moves. Primary numbers are the numbers or labels that are given to you at the start of a practice when everybody is in a full group line. You can be labeled as odds or evens, ones and twos, or A's and B's. Your commander will tell you which label means which. Typically, odds move to the left and evens move to the right. In any case, each of these different labels will move in opposite directions of each other. When you receive a secondary label, this usually means that your original full line has now broken up into two lines that can then be relabeled as odds and evens for both lines. So for a square corner, you're going to press and hold your turning key and release it when you're straight on the next sand line or marker. Up next, we have a round corner. So you'll be tapping your key several times to approach your corner, and this is more of a curved shape rather than a sharp 90-degree turn. A cut is a 90-degree turn on go. This can be called at an arena letter, at a certain sand line or a marker, or at the midline or center line. This is always going to be a follow the leader move. In these next clips, you're going to see the line leader cut into the arena either at the center line or the midline, or at a certain arena letter, or even on the command go. The next move is a die, and that is short for diagonal. So you're going to ride from one corner over X, which is at the center of the arena, to the opposite corner of the arena. Emerald Hunters uses letter corners rather than being in the corners where the two walls meet. This makes it a little bit easier to see X and also to travel across the arena more evenly. Up next is a belt, and that is a follow the leader U-turn at a wall or a sand dot or on the command go. Always follow your leader for this and make sure you're following straight behind. Another follow the leader move, this is angle. The leader is going to cut across the arena at a 45-degree angle, and you're going to want to use the sand dots in a slanted pattern to help guide you. The very first official move that you're going to do is called a curl, which is the smallest possible circle made by pressing and holding your turning key and releasing that key when you're completely straight on your original sand line. So a gait curl is any time you do a curl at a different gait other than what you are currently riding in right now. For example, if we are currently trotting, then the riders will perform a walk curl and then you go back to the original gait. So you're going to resume the trot. For pick curl, this stands for pick up. This means that you're going to perform the curl in the gait that is asked, and then you're going to continue forward in the same gait as that curl. For example, if you started out at the trot and then you do a canter pick curl, you're going to do your canter curl and then continue riding forward in the canter rather than going back down to the trot. For a comb, this is an individual move where everybody cuts across the arena on go. You're not going to follow your leader for this one, and you should look approximately NTT in front of your line leader on your screen, and this is called comb alignment. Up next, we have a slant. So this is similar to the comb where everybody does an individual angle on go. So again, you'll be using the 45-degree slanted sand lines, and you should look boot to boot or side by side with the person who was originally in front of you, and this is called slant alignment. Up next, for a cutback, all of the riders are going to be starting from either a slant or a comb, and all of the riders turn towards their line leader on go. If you are the line leader, you're going to turn away from your line, and this will result in re-merging back into one single file line. For an X halt, all of the riders are going to be pressing their X key on go, which leads to a rearing halt as long as you're at the walk, trot, or canter. If you're at the extended canter and hit your X key, you're going to come down to a hard stop. Up next, we have a rear, which always has to start from a halt. So you're going to press your down arrow key or your S key, then your X key very quickly, and you'll take a very quick backward step, and then your horse will rear. Up next, for a curl over, this move tends to confuse a lot of people, but everybody is going to be performing an individual U-turn on go. A curl over is equal to half of a full curl, and this is going to change your line order and your direction of travel. For a stem, this is very similar to a curl over, except everybody is going to be moving one at a time. So the riders will curl over in the direction called 1 by 1. They will then curl over in the same direction to rejoin at the end of the line. Up next we have pivots, and these moves always start from a halt. You'll be pressing and holding your turning key in the direction called to turn in place. You'll only be turning your horse in the amount that is asked. You'll usually hear either a quarter pivot, half pivot, 3/4 pivot, and a full pivot.
Well,